Hey guys, welcome back to Cheyenne Mountain Zoo for our Abnormally Normal series. My name is Sarah. I'm one of the Rocky Mountain Wild and Asian Highlands keeper here at Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, and today we're going to show you one of my favorite exhibits, and that's our Mexican wolf yard. So we're about to have two of my coworkers enter the yard with our pack of wolves. If that makes you nervous, don't worry. I'll explain in just a moment why that's a totally safe thing to do. But this is our wolf yard. So my coworkers will be entering the yard and placing some food for our pack of wolves. And they're also going to be getting some enrichment today. So that's probably a word you've been hearing a lot in our series. But enrichment for our Mexican wolves is actually going to look just a little bit different than enrichment we might give to other animals around the zoo. Mexican wolves are actually the most endangered subspecies of gray wolf, and they are release candidates for the wild. So here come our keepers. The enrichment we're giving them has to be supernatural, something that they might see in the wild. So luckily here in Rocky Mountain Wild, we have a lot of species that Mexican wolves might come across. So today we're giving them something really special. They haven't had it in a little while, but our moose Tahoma is shedding quite a bit right now. So we just kind of got a bunch of moose fur, and we're going to lay that around the exhibit to see what the wolves think. Now, as you can see, our pack is not really coming up to the keepers at all right now. So that's pretty normal behavior for a wild wolf. I know we've all kind of grown up hearing the reputation of the big bad wolf. You can probably think of so many books that you've read or a movie that you've seen where wolves are kind of the villain. They're the bad guys and they're pretty scary. But reality is kind of what you're seeing right now. Wolves would much rather stay away from people. They don't really want anything to do with us. Even here at the zoo, where we don't do any training or relationship building with our wolves since they are release candidates. So instead, we just go in and kind of drop food and leave. And even with that history, the wolves still will completely stay away from us. So the wolves are going to hang out in the back. Our exhibit is set up so that the wolves have as much privacy as they want. So the days are obviously really quiet here at the zoo right now without all of our amazing guests. We really miss you guys, but I think the wolves have actually sort of enjoyed the peace and quiet of the zoo lately. So they mostly can kind of put themselves way in the back, and then they'll come down as soon as they feel comfortable. There's all that moose hair. Yeah, and that was just one side of our moose. He's really shedding a lot right now. So we do have one little weirdo in our pack, and that is Luna. So our mom wolf over to the right here, you can see she's getting a lot closer than the rest of the pack is currently. And that's not to say that she's actually weird. She just has about 12 years of confidence built up where she's kind of got the gist now that when we enter the yard, we're not going to hurt her. And I don't know about you guys, but if you identify with Luna, then you would probably be the first one to the dinner table. Luna just really likes to get the first bite and kind of see what keepers have placed for her this day. So she's gonna gobble down a bunch of this raw meat, and it's just a red raw meat diet. It's called our canine diet, so it's specially formulated for our Mexican wolves in human care. It's got all the vitamins and nutrients that they need. And Luna's just run away again. The keepers are going to mess with the door a little bit. So that's going to be pretty noisy. So we'll just be a little bit patient here while we kind of wrap up. And once all of that noise goes away, then we'll start seeing them coming down again. But Mexican wolves, they're a really awesome subspecies of gray wolf. They are going to be found in more of the southern states and a little bit throughout Mexico. But these guys needed to be released into the wild. So there's a release program for this subspecies. And that was after there was sort of this mass eradication of gray wolves. So not only the Mexican wolf, but also the timber wolf. So that misunderstanding about wolf behavior was really prevalent for a time in the 40s where it was really just thought that wolves weren't great. But what we found by removing wolves from our ecosystems was that we accidentally removed a keystone species. So a keystone species is really just a vital part of an ecosystem. Just think about that food chain. Think about how an ecosystem really interplays with all of the different groups of animals down to the water. So wolves are really essential. If you've ever played the game Jenga, just think about how when you're taking out each piece from that Jenga tower, it might get a little bit wobbly. So that's sort of like if we remove one species at a time from an ecosystem, it's going to get pretty wobbly and unbalanced. But removing a keystone species might cause that entire Jenga tower to crash. So removing the wolves wasn't great. What we saw was the deer and elk population ended up kind of hanging out in all of the areas that there's a ton of vegetation, so they weren't moving around very much, and they ended up depleting a lot of vegetation, so much so that it was even affecting our waterways. We were losing some wetlands, and even almost lost the aspen tree in Yellowstone at one point. So the ecosystem was super unbalanced, but if you check out what happened in the Yellowstone region for the wolf reintroduction program, we saw over the last couple of decades that that ecosystem is really flourishing now. So wolves are a huge part of the ecosystem, of the balance in the ecosystem. So super important to have wolves around in their native habitat where they have been for thousands of years. And you know, it's definitely not a black and white issue, I like to say. It's definitely a gray area that we here at Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, we really like to consider all perspectives when we talk about conservation in these reintroduction programs. So if you guys visited the zoo here at Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, over the last few months or so, we were actually gathering signatures. So all of the registered voters in Colorado who are coming to the zoo were able to put their name down to say if they were in support of bringing wolves back to Colorado. So we did collect about 15,000 signatures here at the zoo, and then signatures are being collected all over Colorado. And now we can kind of see that the conversation is starting. We may very well get wolves back here in Colorado, but currently it is just conversation. So we're talking amongst field biologists, we're talking with kind of political leaders, and then also those stakeholders in the issue as well. So ranchers are super important. How are ranchers going to coexist with these wolves if they're reintroduced, and how can we help them with compensation programs and non-lethal deterrent methods? So there's a lot to still figure out. And then the hunters are also really important, working closely with them. And then people just like you and me who like to go out to different national parks, go hiking, we all kind of get to have a say in the matter. So here comes Luna again. So keepers are starting to sort of wrap up. Luna's checking out the yard. It is an interesting time right now for our wolves because it is breeding season. So Luna and Navarro, the dad, they were recommended for a breeding pair by the Species Survival Plan. And it's been a few years now that they've been together, but here at Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, we're actively trying to have some Mexican wolf puppies for almost a decade, maybe over a decade. So we were trying really hard. We had multiple pairs coming into our exhibit, and we just weren't quite successful. But Luna, who's coming right across the front here, she was paired up with Navarro, and that was just the magical solution for these guys. They had great chemistry, and the very first breeding season, Luna was pregnant. So that was a couple of years ago now. That was really exciting, and she's joined in this yard by her daughters currently. They did have one more puppy last year too, only one though. So we named her Uno, which is Mexican for one. So that was very fitting. But since it is breeding season, and Luna and Navarro did such a good job at putting their genes out there into our human population of Mexican wolves, they did not receive a breeding recommendation this year. So they just did so good at making sure that their genetics are being represented, that now we have to kind of just separate the boys from the girls. And we're coming up at the end in just about a week here. We're going to be having a bit of a family reunion, so it'll be really exciting. So here's not quite all of the girls. There's one girl missing, and Luna is peeing on the food. So we like to say she's beautiful, but also kind of gross. And that's actually a natural behavior. Luna will pee on the food every single day, and she's basically just telling neighboring wolf packs that don't quite exist yet that this food belongs to her pack. So she's just making sure that their food is claimed, and the other wolves don't seem to care that it tastes like Luna's pee at all, so they will still eat it. Yeah, definitely a little bit different dinner table if you're a wolf than if you're a human. So it looks like they're just gonna kind of eat some of the crumbs here. They're very cooperative, so we'll just kind of see them sharing. Wolves are just this family group, so we don't quite see the alpha omega construct with our wolves. Instead, we see a dynamic where there's two parents and then there's some kiddos, and then sometimes aunts and uncles will stick around as well. But it's just a big family unit, and parents will kind of teach the kids how to hunt, and they'll kind of help out with raising future pups. Hope right here is one of the daughters from a couple years ago. She's gonna taste the hair. It looked like she might have wanted to bring it up to the top there. But she was actually one of the sisters that really took a liking to Uno, the puppy that was born last spring. And she would kind of carry Uno around. Luna would leave Hope with Uno in the den. So she really took on kind of that babysitter, big sister role. So she did great. This glass here, she's kind of looking at it funny. She can hear my voice, but she can't see me. So it's the only two-way glass that we have in the zoo, just for one more extra measure of privacy if they want it. But I'll actually just kind of hop off of the microphone, but we'll all stick around for a bit and watch these wolves. You know, one of my favorite things to do is sit in wolf viewing here. It's really quiet and peaceful. You can usually hear the birds singing in the background, and then the wolves are just so fun to watch because we don't really get to see them as close that often. You know, we, like you, just see them as a blur in the background unless it's feeding time. So we'll just kind of enjoy watching the wolves now with their food and with their moose hair, see what more they want to do with it. But once again, my name is Sarah. I'm one of the keepers here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to just leave a comment and we'll make sure to get to those questions. But thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been really great having you.